Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Sam's33 here, and welcome to Mix Up. And today we're going to be talking about an old favorite of mine, Durant. Yup, I just won't shut up about Durant, even though it's really not fantastic. It's still a fun deck to play, and it's fun just to see your opponent like react to you flipping over Durant. It's really just kind of ridiculous. But yeah, excuse me if I'm a little tired. I'm not exactly sleeping very well, especially since I have to get up super early. We stay up later, and it's crazy. But yeah, I haven't done the most amount of testing with the deck, but I do think it's pretty fun. About as fun as it used to be. It's probably not gonna gain any fans that it didn't already have, or you know, lose any that were already fans of it. But you know, I liked Durant, and at the end of the format, I kind of got a little tired of it, but you know, but now that I've got all Durant out of my system, it's fun to start playing it again. So yeah, let's start talking about Durant.
So, what can I say about Durant? Well, as many of you may know, I used it back in the day, and it was really the only deck I liked last season. So, here we are. Aggron has come along as the new mill deck, sorta, since it can use Sableye while you're milling them. But Durant is far faster and can tech in much more disruption than Aggron. So, what has Durant lost during rotation? Well, for starters, Rotom. This is definitely the biggest loss to the deck, since you can't get Durant out of your prizes without knocking something out. Even if you did knock something out, we've also lost out Lithograph, which means until Town Map comes out, we're pretty much stuck with what's in our 54 card deck. And that's assuming that you can even knock something out. We've also lost Pokemon Collector, which means we can't just set up using one supporter. So it does look like it's lost a few things, but we can still work with this. So let's take a look at all the new Durant variants. So there are a few different variants of Durant that are floating around. The first one is Durant with Sableye. For this variant, you can take a break from milling your opponent and barrage them with catchers and crushing hammers for a bit until you feel it's safe to start milling again. Confuse Ray also isn't that bad, considering they usually won't bench other Pokemon depending on the deck, so the competition will just stay on them until they play something down, and then you can just capture that up. So yeah, Confuse Ray might actually be useful for once. So I've created a list here for you to get an idea of how the deck works. I obviously put in 4 Durant, just to maximize the power devour. I also put in 4 Sableye, not because you'll be needing that many, but because it makes it less likely you'll get a mulligan. Revive is maxed out to get back Durants as easy as possible. Crushing Hammer is the center of disruption items in the deck, so maxing out is a no-brainer. Enhanced Hammer is also very powerful, but if your opponent isn't running special energy, it's going to be a dead card, so I didn't put as many copies in just for that reason. Catcher is the last disruption item in this deck, so you can catcher up something with either no energy or high retreat, preferably both, and keep it there. Level Ball is maxed out, so it's more likely you'll draw into them early enough to get all your Durants out. Ultra Ball is there just to make it even more likely you'll draw into your Durants early. I have Rescue Scarf here, since it can get back your lost Durants without having to draw Revives at the perfect time. Switch is just in case you don't have the right starter, or they plan to stall while they get set up. For the supporters, I have 4 Juniper, 4 N, and 4 Random Receiver, since you won't really need to consistently draw cards to stay in the game. There aren't too many supporters. N is of course the best one here, since it can seriously disrupt your opponent late in the game once they've drawn 4 or 5 prize cards. For energy, I have 6 Metal, 4 Prism, and 2 Dark. Prism is a must max out here, since both Durant and Sableye can use them. Most people probably won't use Dark Energy, but I often use a lot of the Prisms on Durant and not having the energy to attach to Sableye when I need to, so that's why Dark Energies are in there. So now let's take a look at the matchups of the deck. Against Rayquaza Electric, this one's probably pretty favorable. Most Rayquaza decks don't run Zekrom in them, which means other than Mewtwo is the only attacker that's really all that good against this deck. Mewtwo is easier to deal with and he has Psychic Resistance. All the other attackers usually aren't very easy to use without having Electrics in play, which are easy to catch your targets, even with the Force Switch that they usually have. Against regular Electric, this is also a pretty good matchup. It's a little bit tougher since they have double Carl's energy to power up Mewtwo's. If you're running Zekroms, you're kind of screwed. It's just, nothing's a really big problem. A Dragon is just an awful matchup. A Dragon and Darkrai together give everything for retreat, and they can use Dark Patch to energy accelerate, and wisely placed Night Spear damage could lead to an even faster loss. Against Darkrai decks, it's also same issues as that. Basically unwinnable. Against Ho-Oh EX decks, this one's also pretty unfavorable. You'll be discarding their Ho-Ohs and energy for them to use Rebirth, and Ho-Oh can deal with Durant very easily. And also Mewtwo EX and Tornadus EX also make pretty quick work of you. Tracheon decks, or really any fighting decks, are a pretty favorable matchup. Just spam hammers and that will take a huge chunk out of their deck just from trying to get a Tracheon out. Once they power up a Tracheon, you just have to hope that you can mill fast enough and that you've stalled enough time for you to be able to win the matchup. Empoleon is also not a very good matchup. Empoleon has really nothing to catch you up if they're smart, and it KOs you 99% of the time. It's just not very easy to win. Gardevoir is also a very good matchup, assuming it's Tracheon. It's just as easy as that matchup, but with 12 to 14 dead cards. Garchomp is also a very good matchup. Altarias are very easy catcher targets, and if they decide not to put any down, then they're either forced to 2-hit KO your Durants or mill their own deck, which is obviously dumb. To wrap up the Sableye part of this isn't my favorite of the Durant decks, since Sableye slows down your milling process, but I don't know, some people seem to be like this one. This one seems to be one of the more popular of them, so I don't know. It just seems like it would slow down the process too much for me, but I don't know, I haven't tested an enormous amount with this, so. The next variant is Garbodor. Garbodor can prevent a whole slew of things, most notably it gets rid of Darkrai EX's Dark Cloak, which can be a real pain when you're trying to catch or stall something, and then you just simply have to attach your energy and retreat it. It also shuts down plenty of other nuisances, such as Rebirth, Dynamotor, and Dark Trance, which are all pretty self-explanatory. To use a basic list I'm going to give to you, I of course am going to choose the Noble Victor's Troopus just because I like it a whole lot more than the Dragon Exalted one. I only have 2 Garbodors in this list, mostly because they'll usually be targeting your Durants. They probably won't have enough time or resources to take out enough of them, factoring in Rescue Scarf for ones. I added another switch because Garbodor's retreat is very high. You probably won't be able to manually retreat him anytime soon. I also took out an Ultra Ball just to make some room. I added in 2 Eviolites and another Rescue Scarf as more tools you can attach to Garbodor. All the other ones shouldn't be much of a help. You could consider Giant Cape, but the perk it gives Durant is probably more worth it. 10 Metal Energy should be enough for the deck. Found the matchup of this version Durant. Rayquaza Electric is again still a very good matchup. Pretty much the same deal as Sableye 1. They're not really going to get there. Against both of the decks, they usually won't get out their electrics anyway. Against regular electric, just repeat my last sentence and you've got my analysis on this matchup. A Dragon is still an unfavorable matchup because they can still just put down one Darkrai and sweep you. And you don't have Sableye with hammers to slow them down. If they start with a Dino or something, you should be able to win this one. It just depends on the starter. Against regular Darkrai decks, again, same thing. Against Ho-Oh decks, this is still unfavorable. Loss of Rebirth makes this matchup more winnable, but without Sableye, it can be tough since they can just keep attaching and crunching hammers won't last forever. Tracheon also becomes kind of an unfavorable matchup. This deck can be tough to stop if they just keep attaching, not much you can do about it. You don't have Plasma Arrow to take them out if they attach too many energies this time, so, yeah. Not very easy matchup. Empoleon's the same, they're never going to use Diving Draw in either matchup. Garbodor pretty similar to Tracheon. Against Garchomp, Garbodor makes, this one's even more favorable. Garbodor makes it so they have to use Dragon Blade, which is just not even an option. It would be terrible for them. Both attacks just don't work, and it's just, they don't really have a chance. Unless they're on Tool Scrapper. To wrap things up here, this is definitely a step up, for me at least. It makes Darkrai decks winnable matchups, while not having Sableye, it makes a ton of other matchups tougher. If your area is full of Darkrai, this might be your choice of Durant deck. Well, if your area is full of Darkrai, then you shouldn't be playing any Durant deck. It's just, all of them are awful. And the final variant I have for you is Aggron. You think the milling duo would work well together, and thankfully, they do. It doesn't rely on a gimmick and just goes for straight milling. So here's the list I'm going to provide for you. So this is pretty much the same as the Garbodor one, with tools swapped out for the Devolution Sprays and more of your alternate Pokemon line. The Aggron line may seem a bit small, but you need the bench space for 4 Durant, so you only have enough room for 2 Aeron. I took out the Catcher just to make a bit more room, it's the only thing I could think of taking out. 4 Devolution sprays are necessary to develop your Agrons, of course. I don't think I could give very accurate matchups for this. It's just mill the whole time, rather than relying on a gimmick to win its matchups. And I'd have to play several games with it against each matchup to really know how much Aggron works. But from what I have tested of it, I like it. You may think that a maximum of just 6 toppling wins may not help that much, and that you should just play Sableye instead of Durant. But with Durant, those 12 to 18 cards will actually matter in the end, unlike Sableye Aggron decks that have to toppling win several times for it to matter. So I guess that's Durant. It's definitely not good enough to compete with the rest of the metagame from what I've tested, but it's still fun to look at people's faces when you flip over a Durant. It was fun back then, but it's fun now. Nothing like the good old days. Our format didn't suck. Well, this format's alright, but, you know. Dark Cry.
And it's just gonna about do it for today's episode. Remember, guys, Regionals is tomorrow, and I am stoked for it. I'm ready to show the world that I can do a very average record on this. I will prove that to you. I will continue my streak of doing very, very average at every single event. Hopefully I'll actually do this good this time, but, you know, I suck, so that's difficult to do. So yeah, if I'm there, you'll know what I'll be wearing. I'll be wearing the Pikachu hat, and I'll also be wearing long sleeves because it's freaking cold. Oh my god, why is it so cold? Why can't it just be summer forever? Or at least like spring, where I hate fall so much. It's so annoying. Just so cold, and nothing good happens in it except for, all those holidays that happen in it, but whatever. Again, yeah, Pikachu hat, Team Wilmington thingamajig thing. And yes, so, say hi. I'll be hanging around before the event starts. I'll definitely be there as long as I can, so you can play a couple games if you really want to, but you got better things to do with your time. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time for probably my regionals report. Later.